It's just different.
Willing be all of my mental. I'm from the trenches, went the same, yeah, been what I've been through. Left me on red, I left for dead, man, it's really that simple. Now I'm too lit, all of my shit, design is original. Been facts, I never been fictional. Now that we live in the digital. Real ain't loyal, everybody ain't for it, real living conditional. Ain't like them got the bros, man, it's all about principle. I never met one in love with a coochie that's visible. Ass shake, clickbait, no this.
What's good, Harrison House? It's your girl, Mickey.
And I am Stuart.
And today we are bringing you guys day 20 of our 28 days celebrating Black excellence.
It's been a long time coming.
It has.
We're getting close. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Y'all gotta understand, like, it is a lot of work recording all these videos. Like, this is the first time ever in our YouTube channel that we are recording a video and putting up a video every single day. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure Babe would have liked to have been doing this for a while now, but for me, man. But y'all, before we get into today's highlight, we will say that if you did not watch our last video for day 19 of our 28 days of celebrating Black excellence, please go back and watch that video. That video we did cover. So go back and watch that video. We did cover Miss Madam C.J. Walker.
Yes.
Most of us have heard of Madam C.J. Walker, unless we've been living under two rocks and a bridge.
Okay. For real.
But it was a lot of information in that video. That was our longest one yet. So I'm gonna shut up so we can get into it. So this one will be the next longest one. But without further ado, day 20, we are talking about who, babe?
We are talking about, I'm going to say Dr. Vivian Theodore Thomas.
I want you on that one. We can say Dr.
We can say Doctor.
We're going to say Dr.
Yeah, we're going to say Dr.
Vivian Theodore Thomas. For those of y'all who have never heard of Vivian Theodore Thomas, this is a man. It has the name Vivian, but this is a man.
It is.
And he did a lot of groundbreaking things. Let's just say
Definitely.
That. So, you want to start, babe?
Yes. So I'll kick it off.
Okay.
So Vivian was born August 29th in 1910 in New Iberia, Louisiana. He did graduate from Pearl High School in Nashville, Tennessee, and his plans was to go on to college, but the Great Depression came and kind of derailed a lot of the plans that he had. So in the wake of the stock market crash, he did secure a job as a surgical research assistant with Dr. Alfred Blaylock. I always want to say Bullock, but Blaylock at Vanderbilt. So, and they started doing a lot of groundbreaking experiments and things like that. They were doing a lot of these experiments on dogs. And so by the time Vivian came in, he was like kind of learning how they were doing it. Right. But after a few weeks, he was getting so good at assisting, they actually let him do a lot of these experiments and surgeries on his own. Yeah.
Now, this is the part where I would like to interject, because if y'all don't know, Dr. Vivian Theodore Thomas, there actually is a movie about this period in his life. Not his entire life, but the most of the groundbreaking stuff that he did in the medical field. The movie is called Something the Lord Made. Y'all may have seen this movie.
And it may be on Disney Plus. It may be on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah, for this month.
Yeah, for this month.
But Something the Lord Made is the name of the movie. And the rapper Mos Def actually played Dr. Vivian Theodore Thomas. And he killed the role.
He really did.
But this is where I originally learned about Dr. Vivian Theodore Thomas. So, like Babe was just talking about, the movie kind of starts off in this period where it's the Great Depression, and he gets a job as a surgical research assistant. Then it kind of goes into, like Babe was saying, that they started doing the experiments on dogs. After a few weeks, then he was doing those experiments on his own. And a lot of the stuff, like honestly, a lot of stuff that they know, not to Dr. Alfred Blaylock, but I don't think that they would have gotten as far as they did without Vivian, because a lot of stuff that the doctor couldn't figure out, like he was on top of it.
Out. And in the movie, Alfred Blaylock always said it's something about his hands.
Yeah,
it's something about Vivian's hands.
Yeah.
Like he can see things, he can do things, he can feel his way through. He said it's something about his hands. So I thought that was really, really dope. But in the mid 1930s, it was really funny because Vivian was doing all of this research for Dr. Blaylock and performing all these surgeries and experiments, but he actually found out he was getting paid a janitorial salary.
Like, and he was doing the work of a postdoctoral researcher. Yeah. So that's somebody who went through high school, they went through normal college, so they got a bachelor's degree, then they went through medical school and became an actual doctor, and then, doing all this research. So, and he was doing the same level work as them, as somebody of that stature, but he was being paid the same as a janitor. And it's like, no knock to janitors, because everybody got to do some work.
Everyone, and they are very needed in that field. Yeah,
but if you doing the work of the same level work as the doctor and you being paid, like, nah, bro.
Yeah, we gonna have to do some talking.
But
they actually did say it was a lot of things. Even in the movie, it talks about how Dr. Blaylock did advocate for Vivian Thomas and everything like that. And he got him the pay that he deserves. But I remember in the movie, it was kind of funny because his wife was like, "Oh, he got you promoted to what you already do." Like, but he did advocate for Vivian because she did play his wife. But he did advocate for him to get the pay that he deserved.
So in 1941, to piggyback off what Babe was saying, in 1941, I believe, Dr. Blaylock actually was offered a promotion to chief of surgery.
Yep.
And he took it, but one of his requests was that Dr. Vivian Thomas would be able to come along with him on his staff or whatever. So he fought for that. He advocated for Vivian in that way. And he actually got it. Now, it was still a lot of restrictions.
Yeah.
So he couldn't do everything.
Yeah. So it was really, really hard because basically he could help with all the research. He could help even with all the testing, in the background, the experimental phases, but he could not perform any of the actual surgeries.
So, basically, because of all these restrictions and all of that, Dr. Thomas, he was not actually allowed in the surgical room. But what he would do is he still was able to assist Dr. Blaylock. And they said he did that because the way he would do that, he would stand on a step stool so that way he can see down into the patient. Yeah, he would like you was going to say, he would tell him what to do. So he would actually walk the actual doctor through the surgery. That's crazy.
Because they said okay, to kind of go back, there was this big project that they were working on called the Blue Baby Syndrome. So in dealing with this was basically, it was a result of oxygen deprivation in babies. So basically Vivian had to get a dog and pretty much make it have this syndrome and then find a way to reverse it. Yeah. So he did this. And Vivian did this multiple times in dogs to make sure he had the technique down and he could do everything successfully. And the Dr. Blaylock actually assisted Vivian one time. And that one time that he assisted, the dog actually died. But so when they actually did the surgery, Dr. Blaylock had to do the surgery, but have never done it on his own before. He needed Vivian. So he actually called him in over the speaker and paged him like he was an actual doctor that he was, and had him come in. And that's when he stood over the step stool to talk him through.
And that piggybacks off, that goes back to him, Babe was saying that, like in the movie, Dr. Blaylock just kept saying there's something about Vivian's hands. His hands was steady and sure, and you know what I'm saying? And he himself, he struggled doing the surgery. But Vivian was doing it like it was easy.
And one other thing I just want to note real quick is they were babies. So the surgery that they were doing, the instruments was all for adults. So when using the instruments that they had used on the dogs, Vivian used those tools, created them, sterilized them and everything in order for them to use them for the babies.
Yeah, he created tools.
He created the tools
that was the size, proper size for infants.
Yeah.
So again, that's another pioneer thing. How it's babies in the world? How y'all wasn't making tools for babies? I don't really understand.
That's really weird.
But
when all the publicity came out for all the successful work that they had done with the Blue Babies project, Vivian, because at the time he was not technically a doctor,
and he was black.
He could not be. He was not in any of the photos.
Yeah.
He was not mentioned in any of like the press releases or anything like that. So it was basically he just had to know in his heart what he contributed to that project, because they did not put his name on any of it.
And they successfully performed this procedure on over 200 patients. I mean, and for back then, like that's a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What else?
He did become a director of surgical research laboratories at one point. He did assist in some of the groundbreaking uses of the automatic inflatable defibrillators. Implantable? What did I say?
You said inflatable.
Inflatable. I'm sorry. Implantable defibrillators.
Which that's big, because y'all people who know, a defibrillator is something that can restart your heart after it stops. And some people need those actually, on an everyday basis.
They do.
And everything like that. Just, for safety purposes. And he was a part of the first people who was able to implant these defibrillators into people. My brain just kind of stopped right there for a second.
In 1976, Johns Hopkins University actually presented him with the honorary doctorate degree.
Yeah.
But due to the times that we were living in and everything like that, due to restrictions and everything like that, I guess revolving like his education level, he could not get an actual honorary degree in medicine. They gave him one in law.
And that's something that's kind of shocked me. I did not know that. Because in the movie, like I said, in the movie is what introduced me to Dr. Vivian Thomas. But in the movie, they said that he was granted an honorary doctorate degree. Remember, it was at the end. It was like in subtitles or whatever at the bottom. But they never said that it was a doctorate of law instead of medicine. But
all of the articles that you'll see, they say that they were still able to call him doctor with that degree. And I was like, why not just be able to give him a medical? But so after 37 years of working for Johns Hopkins, even after Black passed away, he was appointed to the faculty in the School of Medicine, and he was actually an instructor. So he did a lot of teaching for a lot of their most prominent doctors and things that they did have on staff at that time. So even though he was not in the forefront, he was still pretty much responsible for a lot of the things that happened.
And everybody has heard of Johns Hopkins University, right? And how big they are in the medical field and stuff like that. So imagine how many prominent doctors came from this school, and they probably learned from Dr. Vivian Thomas.
And although he had all this knowledge, he was really, really good. He taught all of these people because he never actually had the formal training. He was never allowed to perform any surgery on the actual human.
Yeah, but that's to me, he never operated on a living human patient, because he operated on a dog. But he had all these accomplishments. He did all these things, and he never himself operated on a human.
Talk about someone teaching you literally how to do something.
Literally, that's crazy.
His teaching game was on point, because he never did it he did like in dogs or something like that. Right. But he never did on actual people. But to be able to coach somebody enough where they can do what you've never done,
and they can be successful.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
So, and Johns Hopkins actually has 4 different colleges, and they named the 4 colleges after people they felt really did a lot for the hospital or had major contributions to the hospital. So they actually named one of their colleges after Dr. Vivian Thomas.
That's what's up.
That is.
It's just crazy that he accomplished all of this and he never touched a patient. Like, that is crazy. Like an actual human, you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, Dr. Vivian Thomas, he did pass away back in 1985. I believe he did pass away from pancreatic cancer. But just think like, man, like he was born in 1910. He passed away in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
So he lived a full life, and he like, man, he did a lot of stuff. Like accomplished a lot. And just, we talked about a lot, the will, the dedication, the perseverance, like it took these people to accomplish the things that they did. Imagine doing all this groundbreaking work and you don't get as much credit as you deserve. Like when they having these dinners or these ceremonies, these celebrations for all this work being done, you left out.
Something I actually learned really, really quick. Before they were able to switch his salary over to actually getting paid for what he deserved, back when he was still getting paid as a janitor, he would help the doctors and teach the doctors things. But when Blaylock had like big parties, he was actually the bartender for a lot of these parties. So he was training these doctors on on their level at work, but at night to get extra money to take care of his, because he had a family with 2 kids, he did bartending for them. That was like, are you serious?
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
So yeah, and I don't know if they showed it in the movie or not. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to watch it to make sure, but I don't think that was in the movie. But that is what you can look up if you research them on your own. So I just feel like that's a major accomplishment to do all of that and, like you said, never really get the proper recognition you deserve. Like that's dedication and heart in what you do.
Yeah, like when we talk about like when we talk about celebrating Black excellence, like this dude, like he did a lot. Like this, it kind of brings you back to when we did our highlight on Jane Bolin, and you realize like how many people she touched, and how many of the civil rights activists that we know and love that she actually mentored. It kind of reminds me of that. Like he did so much. But y'all, that was our highlight on Dr. Vivian Theodore Thomas and some of the stuff that he did in the medical field.
Literally.
But we hope y'all enjoyed that video. As we always say, if you guys know anything else about him that we did not mention here, then please do put that down in the comment section below.
And stay tuned because we'll be dropping another video for you guys tomorrow. No, I'm not going to tell you who it is, so don't ask. But make sure you leave a fat thumbs up on this video. Let us know that you guys really, really liked it. And we'll be back tomorrow with a new one.
What I will say real quick, the person we're doing tomorrow is very well known. But I don't think people realize how much he has done for, our culture.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, like Babe said, we'll be back at y'all tomorrow with that video. So in the meantime, in between time,
we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
It's just different. Willing be all of my mental. I'm from the trenches, went the same, yeah, been what I've been through. Left me on red, left for dead, man, it's really that simple.